1944 gives way to 1945. In Belgium, Allied fighting men struggle on. On the Atlantic, merchant mariners are busy. A Marine somewhere in the Pacific is very tired. A Navy gunner wounded in action, and overseas many of his brothers in arms will never see the new year. 1944 was a costly year. Its casualties have paid for great victories, victories that have blazed in the headlines. Rome falls. Allies land in Normandy. Guam retaken. Paris liberated. The Philippines. Tokyo bombed. These have been good headlines, good news. In the munitions plants and armament factories, millions have labored to supply the raw materials of this much success. Vast industrial resources have been wholly devoted to war. A national election, Governor Dewey running against President Roosevelt, did not interrupt that effort. But in the deaths of Alfred E. Smith and Wendell Willkie, the United States lost two great citizens. Roosevelt was re-elected. Troops fought ashore at Kwajalein, Palau, won the Marianas, and finally reached the Philippines. Japan was still far away. In Europe, Berlin was nearer. There was deadlock in Italy, but Russia was on the march. And in England, great Allied armies were grouped and trained. Allied planes roamed over Europe, delivering heavy blows at enemy targets. Then, D-Day, ticking seconds of 0 hour. Fire! Rocket barges, paratroopers, months of secret preparation put into explosive action. The assault on the Atlantic Wall, riding into the teeth of the Normandy coastal defenses, carrying the hopes of the whole free world. This was the enemy. So too were these, hundreds of thousands killed and captured. This was Normandy. Long weeks, then the breakthrough. Patriots rose. Suddenly, Paris. That August day, the war for a moment was kisses and cheers and parades, and glory for those who had never lost faith in France. That same day, only a few miles from Paris, one young soldier knew mud, one knew blood, one knew sudden death. Then September, Brussels liberated, the first sight of the Siegfried Line, a battle for German soil in which mighty new enemy blows must be met and smashed. And the Russians, striking into Poland and the Balkans, made 1944 a year of swift advances, unleashing violent power. The Axis satellites, Romania, Finland, and the rest, knocked out of the war. Some said Hitler was dead, in exile, insane. But the German enemy, with fierce new leaders like Himmler, had not cracked. Victory, the worldwide rebirth of liberty, was not yet won in Europe. In the Pacific, as 1944 drew to a close, American superfortresses began the systematic bombing of Japan. President Osmena and General MacArthur returned to the Philippines. Newsreel and military cameramen moved in, as always, with the troops to bring home the pictured facts. The hell of jungle warfare, the dawn of landing day on some coral beach. was in the island. China fought back against great Japanese drive. At sea, the Navy wrote history, a Navy of many fleets, many task forces, many heroes. Admiral Nimitz, using the 3rd Fleet of Halsey and the 7th Fleet of Kinkaid and others. In October, the greatest naval engagement ever, and the Japanese fleet routed. Quebec, international leaders strove to resolve the problems of the war and the peace. Dumbarton Oaks, with Edward Stettinius, new United States Secretary of State, America, China, Britain, and Russia meet in unity. Season by season, 1944 went surely on, a year of achievement, not yet a year of final success. The very last day of that year, the dawn of a new one. For some, it meant all night on the job, putting rivets in warplanes. For others, a day to dig one more foxhole. For someone else, it meant still trying to fix something broken 2 years ago in Tunisia. 1945. Before these guns are stilled against the Nazi, his furious counterattacks must be blasted, the German borders squeezed ever smaller. 1945. The full industrial might of hundreds of millions, the courage and skill and tireless effort of the Allied armies of liberation will be brought to bear against both Germany and Japan. This, for Allied fighting men, will be a new and shining year.